All right. Good morning, all to agents. This is Kevin Lauren. I'm the Director of Training and Marketing here. And today we're going to be going over the importance of photography, both in documentation, and we'll also just get into a tiny bit of the importance of marketing photography as well. So this will be a really good, we've got a good anecdote today as well. So really good stuff. So before we get too far, I want to bring on Bill Seitz, the CEO of Clearview Mortgage. Good morning, Bill.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
All right. How are we doing today?
We're doing good from foggy Newport Beach.
Yeah, the whole coast is fogged in, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a weird fall, but the kids are back at school, which is nice, and
Oh, that's great.
home office is quiet.
So it hasn't been like that for months, huh?
No, that was a struggle last spring, trying to have home Zoom every day, and everyone indoors.
Yep, all of us that have kids, we all got to enjoy that period, huh?
Yeah, hopefully those of us who do have kids are starting to see some normalcy coming back. Let's hope it lasts.
Exactly. All right, good. So, Bill, you have queued up a little Matt Ishbia update. Is there anything you want to say about it before we let it roll?
Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome Carol Cobb to the webinar. I know that she was referred over by one of our agents. And so, Carol, if you were able to hop on this morning, welcome. This is a webinar that we'd like to do every Wednesday. Pretty ritually, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we like to really give our agents good information, whether it's industry news, marketing like Kevin puts out, or compliance issues. And it's a gathering we have every Wednesday for about 30 to 40 minutes. And it's really a useful time for us to get together as a company and go through some of the stuff. So welcome this morning.
Yeah, also we have a brand new agent, Etoff, with us. Good morning, Etoff. Great to have you here. Looking forward to working with you. I know I have an appointment with you scheduled the next, I think it might even be today. And we always have our regulars with us, Marcella and Don Kearney and Charlie and Ana Chavez and Angela Galeotto. Really good to see you guys on the webinar as usual.
Yeah, and so regarding this video, I don't play, as some of you know or don't know, we do a lot of business with United Wholesale Mortgage. They are the #1 wholesale lender in the country, and Matt Ishbia puts out these 3 points videos from time to time. Actually, I get them every week pretty much, but I don't play them for Alta agents very often. I only do it when I see something that is relevant to what's happening out there in finance. And I'm a big believer in, if you're a real estate agent, you need to know what's happening in the finance world and where the industry stands and where things are going or moving. So let's watch this and we'll do a quick recap before you get into your stuff, Kev.
Perfect. And then just let me know, of course, if you can't hear the audio.
Hi there, I'm Matt Ishbia, President and CEO of UWM, and this is 3 points. First point, industry turn time. So industry turn times are at all-time highs. Some say 47 days, some say 52 days. Some are saying it's even longer to close a refinance or even a purchase. This is causing major discomfort for consumers, realtors, of course, and loan officers. And so this has no end in sight. The cycle times are taking a long time at a lot of lenders, and everyone's trying to staff up and over, but they're just taking one from one lender and moving to other. It's really not adding capacity. And so what's the solution? How do you solve for this? You got to differentiate yourself. Consumers are leaving the lenders they're at to go to new lenders all the time. Speed matters. People don't like mortgages. They want to make it easier and faster and cheaper. And so what we've seen, so many consumers are saying, I'm staying at 4.5%. I don't want to deal with the hassle. If you can make it faster and easier, and then you get referrals. And so understanding cycle times across the industry are going to be longer. They are longer right now, and they will continue to be longer because there's so much demand for refinances. That's a differentiator for loan officers across the country, whether you can close loans faster, whether you can get better communication, better service from your processors to the borrowers to differentiate. And then don't forget about purchases, because purchases, timelines matter even more. And so 40, 50, 60 days to close a purchase or refinance, it's not flying with consumers, and we're seeing that with the consumer sentiment across the board. Second point, wholesale versus retail. And so we've always seen a lot of difference between wholesale and retail, but the dynamic is shifting and changing. Lower rates in the wholesale channel than the retail channel. Actually, in the month of August, there's 3.14% was the average interest rate in retail. Wholesale was 3.06. I'll challenge you guys, for a lot of you watching, how many loans have you written in the threes? Most of you guys are writing loans in the twos. And so that's what we're seeing. And same thing with FICO scores. Average FICO score was 753 in wholesale, 747 in retail. So higher quality borrowers with lower rates are going through the wholesale channel. The opportunity for the mindset of consumers and everyone across America to realize that the best place to get a mortgage is through a broker is no longer a talk. It's actually the data supports it. Better borrowers with better rates go through the broker channel. That's the opportunity we have going forward. And it's interesting to see how it's going to continue to evolve, as only 21% of the business is through the broker channel. So as more consumers get educated, we think more consumers will go to the broker channel. Third point, homeowner equity is growing. And so the average homeowner gained almost $9,800 in the second quarter. But that puts 98% of people that are not negative equity, which means positive equity, 63%, 34% of people have no mortgage debt at all, which is a really big difference from what 2008 and 2009 when everyone was underwater. Right now, we only have 2% of people that are actually underwater on their mortgages. This is great for cash outs, great for rate and terms. And the truth is, so many people have higher rates. There are very few people that have rates in the twos. So think about this. Everybody's have rates in the threes, fours, and fives, and they have equity in the house, which means they're eligible for refinance, whether it's cash out or rate and term. So opportunities out there for everybody. This is much different than the past. Homeowners are not underwater. The mortgage market is strong, stable, and that is great for the whole American economy. Thanks for joining me. I'm Matt Ishbia, President and CEO of UWM, and that was 3 points.
All right, I'm fired up.
Yeah, he packs a lot of information in a short period of time. But, you know, it's good for everyone to hear that straight from the top dog's mouth. And I'm sure everyone's seeing this out in the, in your escrows and in your, in your timelines. He mentioned it. These banks are having a hard time with all this increased demand through the refinance market. It's affecting your purchases. So, you guys are in hot real estate market. You're taking listings. You've got 10 offers, and everyone's saying, I'll waive my appraisal contingency, or I'll cut my timelines down to, 7 days on loan approval. Well, that's great, but can you perform in that timeline? Are you understanding of what's happening in the mortgage industry to be able to mitigate these problems that are going to naturally arise? So it's very important that we understand this and we can represent our clients in the best capacity, because if you just start taking some unrealistic offer with timeline and now you're issuing a notice to perform when maybe it's a good loan, maybe it's a good borrower, but you just put the wrong timelines in place and now it's becoming a problem. So just, that awareness is really important. And that's why we share this stuff with you guys. I think it's critically important.
Absolutely.
I think if Travis is on the phone, he probably has something to say about that as well. But
absolutely. Let me bring Travis on. Corporate broker Travis. Good morning, Travis.
Good morning. How's it going?
Very well.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Bill on that one.
Right.
So, definitely, if you guys are writing offers out there, do your due diligence and check with the lender on their timeframes, because the mortgage market's changing all the time, just like the real estate market is. So, your favorite lender, whether it's us or not, if they were closing 20 days 2 months ago and now you got a new deal, it could be much different now. So watch your timelines. Don't get caught up on what the listing agent is demanding. You need to know what your timelines are.
Yeah. And I've heard also too, in different markets within California, appraisals are harder to get scheduled or completed on a reasonable timeline, because you still have the COVID issue. You've got increased demand through the refinance, portion of the marketplace, and there's just only so many appraisers out there, and they're overwhelmed with these orders. So that's just something that you got to keep in mind.
Yeah, and even in my area, the Central Coast, we're even having a shortage of notary. So it's all related, right?
100%.
Yeah. So just don't get your timelines. Especially if you haven't closed a deal in a while. You know, don't base your timelines on what you used to, you know, think was normal, right?
Yeah.
Well, lastly, and maybe Travis has a part, input on this too. A lot of it is educating your seller, because you see these offers coming in, and maybe maybe it's coming over asking price. Maybe, there's some variables there that are attractive, but you're not maybe explaining and letting your seller know how impacted financing is. Finance is unless it's a cash offer, finance is everything.
Yep.
It is a critical component of getting your transaction closed. So if you don't set the right expectations and educate your seller, you're going to make it a lot harder for everybody.
Yeah, I think that goes for both sides, educating, your clients, whether they're buying or selling, what the expectations are, what the market is right now, and then not letting, the co-op agent kind of dictate things. Really, you need to do your due diligence on both sides. Whether you're the listing agent and you have these offers coming in, call up the lender, see what the, timelines are that the agent has put into the offer, and see if they can even hit those. I just got one into escrow 2 weeks ago, and she is using, I'm on the buying side, and she's using US Bank, and US Bank is 31 days. And I called the lender. I've worked with them a couple times. They said it's 31 days. That's what it is. He said, I can't get the appraiser out there, any sooner than 17 days, and loan approval any sooner than 21. So, we went through only a couple offers, but really it's about getting the listing agent comfortable with what it is, because they wanted lesser. It was multiple offers, and they wanted lesser time frames. And I said, look, I've worked with this guy multiple times. He closes every time. What he quotes is, the Bible. I mean, if he says 31 days, it's going to close in 31 days, and so I just got him really comfortable with me, and they ended up going with our offer. Mainly because he's super confident in my buyer's ability to close, and they were willing to wait, a couple days extra, because they verified with the lender as well. So, part of it is some upfront work. Just don't throw an offer out there if you're on the buying side. Work with the listing agent, get them comfortable with who you're working with, and get them confident.
Yeah, that confidence is huge, and then you're going to be able to maybe close the deal and not have to run down the street on you. All right, great. Appreciate that, guys. Any other comments on that?
No, I think that's good stuff. It's just once again, it's just important for us to have these little discussions. I know it's sometimes not the most attractive topic in real estate, but it's a necessary topic.
Yeah. Charles Barnes is asking, how much is a typical appraisal these days?
What is a typical rate?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you're still getting rates in the twos, and refinance, as we shared.
Actually, Bill, the question was typical appraisal these days. What's the rate? How much?
Oh, it's usually around $500 unless it's a jumbo loan.
Got it.
You're looking anywhere from $460 to $525, depending on the appraisal, management company.
Yeah.
So if it's a jumbo appraisal, it's going to be more money.
Right. Okay, good. So I hope that answers your question, Charles. Great. So going forward, before I get into the meat of today's presentation, I do want to remind everybody that it's right around the first couple of days in the month. I send you guys all blog content that you guys can push out to your clients. It's very, very important that you guys do this. It's a very, very easy way to stay connected with all of the people in your sphere of influence. So, you'll all, of course, have received the email. You can copy that text from the email, or there's always a link to I always put that same information on our corporate website. And if you ever want to go and find out what's going on with our corporate quote unquote blog that we happen to call News and Insider Tips, just you go to our homepage, and you can get there by putting your cursor over About and going down to News and Insider Tips. So you can always go here, click on the actual article itself, and then you guys can copy and paste each part into your own blog. So I know I have a ton of agents that are embracing this, they're doing this, and they're really starting to get some good traction because of it. Again, you can also rip off the image, no problem. Right click, save the image as, and then you're going to be able to put that awesome image into your blog post as well. So really quickly also, what are you supposed to do with that? Step 1, post that to your blog and or social media. Step 2, I do have some agents that are doing like a 30-second video of themselves saying, hey, here's my new video, or my new content for this month. I hope you enjoy it. Or maybe even say a sentence about what they're about to see or about to read in the blog post. So then if you do that step, then you want to post that to social media as well with a link to the blog post on your website. And then the most important part is to follow up with everyone in your sphere of influence and ask them if they saw the blog post or if they received the content, because you can also, of course, send this out as your monthly newsletter in our agent marketing system. So I know I'm being redundant for a lot of the agents on the call, but it's really important that you all do this because it is an easy way to stay connected to your sphere of influence. So just wanted to make sure you guys all saw that. You're all getting that. If you have questions, definitely contact me. Okay, so Travis, you sent me a good video on adding photos to the Avid, correct?
Yeah, because we had touched on adding photos to your walkthroughs and whatnot last week, and so I did come across a little 3-minute video from Zip Forms, basically on how to attach pictures to your Avid form within Zip Forms. So I thought this would be some good information out there if you don't know how to do this.
Yeah. Oh, whoops. Let's try that again.
Hi everyone, Jackson here from the Zip Guys, here for another Zip tip. Did you know that you can attach photos to documents inside of Zip Form? From the Transactions page, select your transaction. From the Summary page, select Documents. Select the form to which you would like to attach photos. Scroll down to the page where you want the photo tags to reside. Select Photos from the toolbar, then click Attach Photo. Select the photo file from your computer. Use the caption area to further describe the content of the photo, then click OK. Drag the photo tag into place, then repeat this process for all of your other photo tags. Then click Save. When we preview the document, we can see that our image reference tags show up on the document, and as we scroll down to the end of the contract, we see that all of the photos are attached. Stay tuned for more Zip tips from the Zip Guys.
That's great, Travis. Yeah, so that is, just like we talked about last week, the importance of documenting everything that we're doing is so key. And so that's really cool that you can attach that to the Avid from Zip Forms itself. I did not know that you can do that, Travis.
Yeah, I've seen it once. I didn't know how they did it. And so I found this video and it looks to be pretty easy. So
yeah, it looks easy to me. That's great.
And then you don't have to, store separate files and all this other stuff. So you can just have them right there.
Right. All right, cool. So again, we had, do you want to kind of let us know what happened this week? We had a situation, I think Bill was involved as well, where pictures would have been very, very key, correct?
The picture issue was the walkthrough, right?
Yes.
So that was an issue that we had with the other agent saying that, somebody had, ripped open, they basically demoed the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
This situation is a little different, right, Travis?
Yeah, you mostly been on this one, but let's hear the story.
All right, let's dig into this one.
Yeah.
So I was helping Travis out with a situation that we had where an agent of ours and another agent up in the Bay Area are trying to close a transaction, and the tenant is going to stay in the property for up to 60 days. So they're buying the property with an FHA loan, and FHA guidelines will allow either seller in possession or tenant in possession for up to 60 days post close. So that's fine. This particular tenant is Section 8. So those of you who are familiar with Section 8, it is a subsidized program run for low-income families or low qualifying homeowner or renters that need just help with their rent obligations. Well, none of this that they're trying to close, and this really wasn't brought to the attention of the buyer, and they didn't deliver a copy of the lease, a copy of the changes to the terms of the lease that had the terms of the subsidy that had changed in July, and is becoming a bit messy where now they're trying to write addendums based on the tenant staying in after close of escrow, and they hadn't even delivered the proper reports to the buyer. So super important, and I think that you can really get yourself into trouble, especially in this situation when you have a Section 8 type of tenant in the property. Usually the government agencies and the overall protections in place for these tenants or people in these programs, they're going to look at them and probably take their side, because they're going to think that you're taking advantage of somebody if, one, you're not giving them adequate time to get out of the property, and number two, you're manipulating timelines or this without disclosing it. So I think the moral of this story, and Travis, I'll let you chime in here, is if you have a tenant in place, number one, any tenant, doesn't have to be Section 1, there's certain forms you need. And Travis and I actually had a couple of discussions on this, and Travis was like, yeah, I think they're going to need these forms. And one was a tenant estoppel, and the other one was the tenant in possession form. And Travis, you want to just maybe give a couple pieces of what those forms are and why they're important?
Yeah, I think as with any transaction, take a minute to think about what you're going to need at the end and get that going in the beginning. Even if you don't have the exact terms right then when you're doing the offer, leave it to where it's going to be to the buyer's satisfaction, within the due diligence period, reviewing the lease contract, maybe renegotiating rent with the tenant if maybe they're on a month-to-month and they're going to stay or something like that. So, leave yourself some room to breathe and try and get as much down on paper in the beginning to avoid this huge mess of confusion that we had at the, literally just a couple days before closing. We're like, hey, what do we do with all these prorations? And nothing was spelled out in the contract whatsoever.
Yeah, and after reviewing that tenant estoppel form, it started to get clearer on how you do this. And maybe, Travis, you can explain what the tenant estoppel form does and what it actually is.
Yeah, even if it's not Section 8, just any tenant in there that is going to be remaining in the property, you're going to want the estoppel form, which is basically, in a nutshell, removing the liability from the current owner or the lease obligation to the new owner, which is the buyer. So it's going to put the same contract into place, the lease contract into place with the new buyer who's going to be the new landlord, basically. So you need to fix that. Otherwise, the lease contract is still going to be between the old owner and tenant, and then your new one, your buyer won't have one in, a valid one really
Exactly.
in place.
Yeah, they will
So
not have a valid contract
yeah,
anymore.
so you want to get that fixed, and the estoppel form does that for you if they're just going to remain in possession. I mean, you can still, it has room for modifications and different things like that in there as well. So it's a pretty simple form. If you just look at it, it sounds much bigger than it really is. So
It's
you're
the
going to
word.
want
It's the
those.
word estoppel, Travis.
Yeah, everybody's like, what's an estoppel? Um, so if you have a tenant in place, you're going to want the TIP form, which is the tenant in place form, and then also the estoppel, which will make the agreement between your buyer, the new landlord, and the tenant valid.
And what's nice about that form too, for everybody who's not familiar with it, as I reviewed it just over the last couple of days out of necessity, because I've never used that form personally, is the tenant has to sign it. So that kind of completes the loop of seller, buyer, tenant, everyone being on the same page. And I think that completes the insulation, or more of insulation, from any kind of exposure to anybody, brokerage, yourself, as an agent in the transaction, because it makes sure everyone's aware of what's happening and who's moving into what role.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
point.
because I know that's a concern a lot of times. They're like, well, the listing agent says that the tenant's okay and this and that. Well, this is how you get it in writing. So use that estoppel form.
Yeah, don't take anybody's word for it. Oh, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
So just
we don't
do your
that.
upfront work when you're writing the contract. Put stuff in there, even if it's slightly open-ended as far as terms. But I like to put everything to the buyer's satisfaction. I literally write to the buyer's satisfaction after that line item that I'm putting into a contract, whether it's review of lease contracts, so on and so forth. And to the buyer's satisfaction really leaves it in the buyer's hands as to hey, I don't really like what's going on here and I want to back out because of this.
Yeah.
Well, and in this case, especially with the non-delivery of the lease, I mean, imagine buying a property and not even getting to see the lease that's in place with the landlord and the current, or the seller and the current tenant. And it's a vital piece of information. It's a material piece of information for the buyer. And these agents were like, they were trying to close the deal without doing that. I was like, whoa, put the brakes on here.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to want a copy of that lease if they're staying in place. So don't leave your buyer exposed.
No. All right, good. Well, that was very, very important, guys. I really appreciate that. Real quickly, I'm just going to go over just these couple stats. I just never want to, understate the importance of high quality photography in really all your listings, guys. You can spend a couple of $100 and get some really high quality photography. So here's, and these figures are from NAR. Homes with high quality photography sell 32 times faster. We want to sell things faster. So let's, be on that end, not on the, home iPhone, pictures and just relying on that. Homes with more photos sell faster as well. That's a really cool stat. A home with one photo spends an average of 70 days on the market, but a home with 20 photos spends 32 days on the market. Those are just good things to understand and to think about, right? For homes in the 200 to 1 million range, those that include, and that's the vast majority of all of our business right there. We all know it. Those that include high quality photographer in their listings sell for 3,000 to 11,000 more. So we're presenting this, a lot better. And then another couple little things is I want you to think about drone photography. Think about just aerial. The aerial photography sells homes very, very effectively, because not only are you looking at the home, you're getting a unique perspective of the neighborhood from above. And so 9 times out of 10, that's what I want to see. I want to see what does it look like, around the neighborhood, and those aerial photos, they really sell that point. And so the photography, let the photography do the sales, do a lot of the sales for you. We know that, 9 out of 10 buyers are finding the home that they want online first anyway. So you got to have those great, great images. So again, if you don't have a photographer, you can go to our agent resource center, and we do have a great relationship with Preview First. Let me see if I can bring Preview First up here. They're basically just previewfirst.com, and contact them. They know us, and they'll do a great job for you.
And Kevin, also, that we showed Katrina Smith's, Instagram page, or, her Instagram feed last week, and how well she put together her little 1 minute, 20-second videos of Corona Del Mar.
Yeah.
If you're investing in high quality photography or high quality, or drones, you can leverage that into other parts of your business. If it's not just for that property, sell it, those become obsolete. That's become a database of things that you can utilize in your personal marketing as yourself as a realtor.
Yeah, that's massive, Bill. Really, really important. And we talk about that all the time, is we're not just selling that listing, we're using that marketing to get the next listing and the next listing. And yeah, that lady did a really good job of intersplicing. So, her little 1 minute videos were her talking, and then throughout her talking, then it would, flash onto the screen, and there would be some awesome drone footage. There would be some awesome, pictures of her listings, right? So it really makes, she's selling herself very, very correctly that way, right?
Oh, she's showing that she is an elite level agent in real estate.
Right. Now I have a really good question from Charles Barnes. He says that there's a new listing in his community, and there's a listing agent that's using 20 of his old photos from his previous listing. What should he do? So you do have recourse, and this is a big issue. There's also a big issue with photography. Sometimes I've just come across this. Some agents are making photographers, or trying to get photographers to sign an agreement where they relinquish all the rights to that photo to the realtor or to the real estate company. And the reason is because this kind of stuff starts to happen. But there's a huge pushback from the photographers, because the photographers normally will make the agent sign a licensing agreement that they can use those images in their marketing and all that kind of stuff, but they don't own the images, right? So Travis, what would you say to, and I'll help Charles on this because, but what would you say to Charles about, because there's certainly legal recourse that he can take.
Yeah, I mean, I came across a Facebook ad that got placed in front of me one time that was actually a front picture of one of my listings.
Yeah.
And I messaged the guy and I said, hey, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but I need this taken down right now. And
Yeah.
I didn't see that ad anymore. So
yeah, that's a great first, and we always want to be reasonable. We don't want to be litigious people, so great first step, Charles. Just, ask that listing agent politely, hey, I noticed that you're using my images. Would you please not use those and get your own?
Yeah, that's right there. Yeah.
And then, of course, you can obtain a lawyer. They can issue a cease and desist, and if they don't, comply, then obviously you can go forward and take further legal action.
If I could close with just a little piece of risk reduction too, being that we're in the market where we are right now, we have some overly confident sellers, call them greedy, whatever you want to call them. If you're on the listing side, I encourage you to encourage them to work with the buyers on repairs and disclosure and stuff like that, and not skimp out on that. And on the flip side, if you're representing the buyer, even if the contract, explicitly stated you're buying this home as is, blah, 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 do your request for repairs, get your home inspections, so on and so forth, because we are paying prices right now. The consumers are paying prices right now higher than they've ever paid before. It's very expensive to live here, and they are going to be going through the home with fine-tooth comb when they close. And if things start mounting up that they don't like, it'll be very easy for them to, seek out legal advice, and they're going to want some of that money back that they put down on the home. So, encourage your sellers to do, satisfy all the buyers' concerns, and encourage your buyers to satisfy themselves with the condition each and every time. Don't take shortcuts, especially not right now, because you'll feel it in 6 months when people really start filing complaints and stuff like that, because they're upset about what they paid for the house.
Yeah, I mean, a huge point, Travis, because yes, it is extremely expensive to live here. And oh yeah, you start paying these kinds of prices, and yeah, you're going to look for any opportunity to get some of that cash back. And that's going to come out of the realtor's commission, and 9 times out of 10.
Yep. So, but just do, we talked about setting expectations. I would do that kind of upfront with your seller, and set those expectations, and let them know that if, this buyer does decide to file any kind of complaint or suit or anything, that, it's coming out of the realtor's commission, but they're suing everybody. They're suing the seller, they're suing the home inspector, they're suing everybody.
Right.
So
I've got a good anecdote, Travis and Kevin. Maybe we can do it next week. It won't be it'll be a few minutes.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. So let them know that, put a little fear in their heart, and encourage them to satisfy buyers' concerns with repairs.
Yeah, very well said, Travis. All right, good. Well, hey, we've run out of time, but yeah, let's definitely, the anecdotes are awesome. They're learning vehicles for us. So we always want to learn from, things that other agents have done, so we don't get into that same problem. So Bill, thanks for being on the line with us.
Of course.
Travis, always appreciate your insight.
Yep,
and
of course.
And appreciate the agents always coming on Wednesdays. We really appreciate that as well. So guys, get out there and make it a great day and make it a productive week. And we'll see you next week on the Wednesday webinar. Bye-bye.